Hi everybody, it's Marisa Murgatroyd, founder of Live Your Message, and I love starting webinars at noon because the church bells actually ring right at noon, so I feel it's like chiming the start of the webinar. So this is our very first try of doing a community webinar, which means that we've got Gary Schleifer on the line, we've got Lori Morgan Ferrero on the line, and we also have Wendy Bodan, who sent her tribe over as well. So we're basically talking to a few different audiences together and really making it a fun community-style event. So we're going to be here to talk about the 3 simple personal brand strategies that entrepreneurs are using on Facebook to actually get known, raise their fees, and sell more. And Gary is going to just give a little bit of a housekeeping on how the event is going to run. And there you go, Lori. Just close that window.
Yeah.
And which means then Lori will introduce you.
Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. We call that Montezuma's revenge, basically, once the video starts playing on the Hangout. All good. So, Gary, do you want to take it away?
Yes, I will. Thanks, Marisa. Hi, Lori. Hey, everyone. It's Gary Schleifer. I'm the publisher of Choice, the magazine of professional coaching, and a big shout-out to my tribe and everyone else's tribe, too, of course. Before Lori introduces Marisa, I want to let you know how you can interact with us today. We're using a live streaming Google Hangout on air, so you can see us face-to-face today. If you have any kind of glitch in your internet connection, it could cause the audio or video to freeze for a moment. You know, you've seen that happen in Skype and stuff. The best way to fix this problem is to refresh your browser. Most of the time that fixes the issue, but if for whatever reason your internet just doesn't want to cooperate today, don't worry, there'll be a replay available on this page as soon as the session is finished. But we definitely recommend that you stick around live and join the dialogue and get your questions answered so you can get the most amount of benefit out of this training today. There's a live chat box to the right of this video, and we've been saying hi to everybody. There's Marisa saying hi. Just log in with your social network of choice and start commenting right away. Take a moment to say hi, let us know where you're calling from, and as I always like to say, what you want to get out of this session. It always inspires us to give our best when we see who's hanging out there listening and what they want to know. Lori and I will be in the chat box to review your questions and make sure that Marisa answers them at the end of this training. So that's it for housekeeping. Over to you, Lori.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary. It's so great to be here. Nice to meet you virtually.
Yes. Hi.
Yeah, and welcome to Gary's tribe and to my tribe. And let me introduce you to Marisa, for those of you who don't know her yet. Marisa Murgatroyd, I love her name. And I just learned how to say Marisa. It's not Marissa, it's Marisa.
Thank you.
I get it, girl. Anyway, Marisa is the founder of Live Your Message, which is a killer corporation that actually helps entrepreneurs who have a big message, like the people who would come to a call like this in the world, they have a big message in the world about how to build a leading brand and a lucrative web presence. And let me tell you, it's not as easy as it used to be in the old days about a decade ago. It's gotten more challenging, and Marisa's going to guide you through that. Now, this girl is a little squirt. She's 4'11" and a quarter. She's known as the shortest woman in marketing, but let me tell you what a firecracker this woman is. I have met her in person, and we just have, like she was saying, we have a good girl crush on each other because she's just such high energy and she's so knowledgeable. You're going to love her too, I know. So it doesn't stop her from having big ideas at all. Her no-nonsense approach has earned her a reputation as a results getter for leading-edge clients like, drum roll please, John Cruther, Alexis Neely, Morgana Ray, and Evan Mark Katz, among many, many others. And today, Marisa's purpose and her passion really lies in helping emerging entrepreneurs, people who are really getting their feet under them. She wants to help them launch themselves online through her signature training programs, which are Message to Money, Hidden Story Power, and Superhero Summits. All are knock them out of the park programs, I promise. And you're going to love what she has to share today. She's also produced dozens of large-scale award-winning projects for clients like Getty Museum, PBS, UCLA, and the state of California. I didn't even know that. Really cool. Cumulatively, these projects have moved over 75,000 units and generated over $1 million in sales. and won 30-plus industry awards, including 2 Tellys. Very cool. So Marisa graduated from Brown with a BA in semiotics.
Semiotics, you got it.
All right.
It's something that nobody knows what it means, which is all good.
That's awesome. So anyway, it's for the 99.9% of the population, including me, who does not know what that means. I'm going to tell you, it's the study of cultural symbols and signs. Pretty cool. And she also has an MA in Communication Art and Design from the Royal College of Art in London. This girl gets around, let me tell you. She just got back from Paris, too, living in Paris for a couple of months. But I digress. She and her husband, Murray, are currently location-dependent entrepreneurs running their business from the road. There you go. And so let's all welcome Marisa.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lori and Gary, and welcome to your communities, and also welcome to Wendy's community. We're really excited to have all of you out here, and I see my people here on the line as well. So I'm excited. I got to say, this is a brand new webinar. I always get just a tiny bit nervous when I'm presenting a brand new webinar because it's never been taught in this way publicly before. So I'm just going to get started and talk about how to Facebook your way to a lucrative and loved personal brand. So here's what you're going to learn today. You're going to learn how to use simple Facebook status updates to not just become known in your field, but to become unmistakable. And that's the big difference. Not just known, but unmistakable, unlike anybody else out there. And that's what allows you to raise your fees and sell more. Plus, how to go about creating a lucrative and loved personal brand, even if you're just getting started. So there's a lot of ground I need to cover, and I'm just going to dive in right now. We've done the introductions because I've got a ton to share with you today, okay? So I want to start by saying something that's a few things that are kind of controversial, and they're going to really fly in the face of everything the experts have told you and everything that you've learned up until now about how to make a living online with your knowledge, expertise, or advice. And that is, and remember I say this with love, and if you guys can mute yourself, we're hearing the typing, that'd be great. And just come back on when you want to talk. And that is, the first thing is that no one really cares about your expertise. And not only do they not care about what you know, whether you're the best at what you do isn't really the deciding factor in whether people choose to work with you or buy your stuff. And second, the thing that's stopping you from creating an insanely profitable business that the one that you see in your mind's eye and becoming the go-to expert in your field and providing the lifestyle that you really want for yourself and your family, it's not a lack of skill. It's not a lack of knowledge. It's not a lack of training or degrees or certifications. You already have everything that you need to be successful. And third, what really sets you apart from your competition is something else that's far more important than what you know. And that's what this webinar is all about. And as that sinks in, I want to be clear about one thing. I'm not trying to say that your expertise or your skill doesn't matter. And I'm not implying that all the years that you spent mastering your craft have been wasted. You definitely need to be awesome at what you do to succeed. And I know that you already are, and that's why you're here. But what I am saying is that your expertise is not the most important thing if you want to build a lucrative and loved personal brand. And here's what led me to this conclusion. It was actually my own experience of not being valued for what I know, and that hurts when you're not valued for what I know. So let me share this quick story of what's more important. So the day that I was born, my dad actually started mutual funds for my college education. And when I got older, he told me two things. He told me, Marisa, you can go to school anywhere you want as long as you work hard and get good grades. And he told me that a good college education was my ticket to success in life, and my career would just kind of unfold at my feet the day I graduated. So I bought into that dream hook, line, and sinker, and I became an overachiever times 10. You know, I had a 4.0 grade point average. I won over 6 different writing and photography contests in high school, and I was a national merit semifinalist. So I chose to spend my nights and my weekends devouring books. I read like 100 books in a single year, and I had this really weird habit of writing down every single word that I didn't know on the back of these bookmarks, right? And I thought if I just learned one more word, people were going to understand me that much better whenever I communicated my ideas, because I'd be communicating that much more precisely. So the day finally came when I graduated from the Ivy League. The year was 2000, and the first big internet boom had busted. So I applied for job after job after job, and I quickly discovered that pretty much 0 people gave a damn about my smarts or my degree. I couldn't even get an interview. And you know what? Remembering that now, I think about the hundreds of other really smart, gifted people that I meet every single year who are struggling to even get noticed. So let me ask you, have you ever thought that you deserve more recognition and authority? Better clients who are paying you more, a lot more for what you do. Have you ever wondered why your talent and your expertise haven't translated into the kind of success that you were looking for when you first got started? So what's going on here? Is the world just fundamentally unjust? Of course not. But that doesn't change the fact that history is absolutely full of brilliant people with life-changing ideas, life-changing talents, and life-changing solutions who never got the recognition they deserved. So let me give you an example. Have you ever heard of Nikola Tesla? This guy, he was like a genius from Croatia. He actually invented alternating current, the spark plug, radio communication, and a whole lot more that's transformed the way we live our lives today. But Tesla was completely overshadowed by Thomas Edison. And I'm sure you've heard of Thomas Edison. He actually branded himself as the greatest inventor known to man. And Edison stole a lot of Tesla's ideas and claimed them as his own. So in the end, being this uber smart guy got him nowhere. Tesla died this really broke, unknown man, while Edison became rich and famous and is still known as one of the greatest inventors of all time. So what's going on here? The truth that began to dawn on me is that the marketplace doesn't need more experts. In this new world, the true competitive advantage belongs to leaders and visionaries who can move people to action. And when I unlock their secrets for you today, you're going to discover how you can become the kind of leader, the kind of visionary, the messenger that your audience is not just looking for, but yearning for. You're going to discover how you can build a business that has no competition for your ideal client. None. Zero. And you're going to discover how you can nurture a repeat client base that's going to pay whatever you ask for your products or services simply because they believe that you're the one who can give them what they want and need. And how you can do it with simple Facebook status updates. So if you want to do all that, it's actually simple. You just need to understand that there are actually 3 things that are much more important than what you know when it comes to making a massive impact in the world and building a personal brand that's lucrative and loved. So let me know in the chat if you're ready to find out what they are. What could possibly be more important than what you know? And in the meantime, I'm going to continue a little bit with my story. So there I was like Tesla, completely broke, and I was fresh out of the Ivy League with no job and living with my dad. So one day he sat me down and he said very seriously, Marisa, I just spent $150,000 on your college education, and you don't have any marketable skills. So I did what any respectable Ivy League grad without any job prospects would do. I ran away and I joined the circus. And I'm serious here. I actually went and I got a job with Cirque du Soleil. And my dad, well, he pretty much disowned me. I mean, how could he tell his friends that his Ivy League daughter had run away to join the circus? But in fact, it was at the circus that I learned that these circus performers with no college education knew something that I didn't. And I saw that you guys are ready for this. I see your comments coming in. So what those circus performers knew that I didn't is that they knew that what you create, what you produce, is always more important to your success than what you know, what's stuck in your head. So let me give you an example. While it's important to Cirque du Soleil that their ribbon dancers are really great, what's actually more important for the revenue is presenting those skills in the context of a packaged experience that their audience could appreciate. So in this case, it takes the form of a show. And at a combined revenue of over $1 billion a year, Cirque du Soleil have become the most successful circus on the planet thanks to the magical shows they create that go way beyond each individual act. They've literally transformed the way people experience the circus and how much they're willing to pay for that experience. Now you may be asking yourself, what in the world does a circus have to do with creating a lucrative and loved personal brand? Well, Cirque du Soleil knows what many entrepreneurs don't. They know that being great at something isn't enough. They know that you have to take it and you've got to package it in the right way into something new that your audience can consume and experience. And that's what adds value over and above the raw skill or expertise that their performers have. So it's the feeling and experience that's wrapped around the skill and the expertise that's made Cirque du Soleil the largest and most successful circus in history. What they produce is clearly far more valuable to the marketplace than that raw talent of the guy who spent years perfecting the perfect backflip in his garage, right? So when it comes to creating a lucrative and loved personal brand, take a tip from the circus and create your own unique experience across all your materials. So as an entrepreneur, here are the most common ways that you can package what you do as an experience. And this doubles or even triples your value to the marketplace pretty much right away. So you can create an experience with your website and your visual branding, with your signature photos. You can create an experience in your emails and social media. And I'm really going to focus on social media here today and give you lots of specific strategies for how to create an experience on Facebook that goes beyond what you actually do and what you actually know. You can also create an experience in your videos, in your books, and in your products or offerings. So now I don't recommend that you do all these things at once. It's just not possible. I recommend focusing on just one or two that best package and showcase your expertise as a real experience. So just pick one or two and do them really well, like Cirque du Soleil. Then you can always add more later. So I'm going to be giving you some tips specifically for Facebook in just a moment. But first I wanted to finish the story of my journey in the circus and what's more important to your success in business than what you know. So after a few months of fun times at the circus, watching them create and package experiences, I got the urge to do the same. So I headed over to the Royal College of Art in London, which is widely considered one of the top art and design schools on the planet. A real mecca for people who want to create real stuff, like art and books and films. And I told myself that things would change for me if I learned how to create amazing things. I'd get noticed and people would see my true value and pay me what I'm worth. So I spent 2 years in rainy London perfecting my craft. I did classes in typography and graphic design and filmmaking. I won a few grants and awards. I flew to Brazil and single-handedly made a documentary, and I won some environmental design awards and just did all kinds of stuff. And for good measure, I got an arts degree, right? And then when my 2 years were up, I moved to Los Angeles. I started applying for jobs in the film industry. I was clearly awesome. I had the smarts, I had the skills, I had the experience, 2 degrees, a master's degree, and I'd created some really crazy awesome stuff. So I thought a big fat paycheck was surely on its way to me. But can you guess what happened? Yep, nothing happened. I couldn't believe it. Still, nobody cared about how smart I was or about the stuff I'd created. Clearly, there was something else missing. There was another piece of the puzzle there to be uncovered. I longed to be recognized as an authority, celebrated for my talent, and get paid for what I was worth. But clearly there was something else that was still more important than what I knew and what I created. So while I set about discovering what it was, I took the only jobs I could find, laboring as a landscaper and waiting tables. And then on my very first day at a fancy restaurant in Topanga Canyon, California, something very interesting happened. The mother of a good friend happened to be having lunch with a friend of hers. So we got to chatting and I let them know that I was looking for a job in documentary film. And as it turned out, her husband had just started a new documentary film project and was looking for a production assistant. So 1 week later, I had the job. That one chance encounter with a friend of a friend led to a 7-year career within the film industry, where I eventually worked my way up from PA to director. And it came without me ever mentioning my degrees, my smarts, or all the amazing stuff I'd produced. That's when it became crystal clear to me that the next most important thing to building a lucrative and loved personal brand, after what you know and after what you produce, is who you know and the relationships you have. Not just relationships with famous people who can open the door for you. I'm talking about the relationships that you've got with your peers, with your clients, and with your tribe, or the people who choose to follow you. So building a lucrative and loved personal brand isn't just about a one-time transaction or one-way forms of communication like appearing on the news, which used to be the holy grail for experts around the world. It's about developing a real relationship with your tribe. So I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have 1,000 true fans engaging with me on a regular basis on my blog and on Facebook in the way that I'm going to show you in just a bit than to be invited as a talking head expert on CNN. So real influence and impact in today's world goes beyond sharing your expertise and sound bites. These days, it's about building a tribe, a community of like-minded people who share common values and beliefs and aspirations. So if only I had known earlier that relationships were so important than what I knew and what I produced, then maybe I would have spent a little less time studying and a lot more time finding friends and mentors. But I don't have any regrets. I believe that all of life's experiences, challenges, and struggles provide the bedrock for a future success. But as you can probably guess, we're not finished with the story just yet. So armed with those three concepts, what you know, what you produce, and who you know, I got to work. So over the past few years, I've pretty much focused on creating new relationships to build my business. And in that time, I've also created 3 signature products: the Superhero Summit series and 2 done-for-you services that help my audience really live their message out in the world. So I've had a great time doing it. You know, my business has tripled in size 3 years running. And recently, I've let more of who I am shine through in the stories I tell and in the videos I make and put out into the world. And then a little while ago, out of the blue, I got this message on my blog. Someone wrote, "I'm just trying to get a blog together to sell a cookbook, but you're inspiring me to do more. I don't really know what, but your enthusiasm is inspiring me to want to reach for the sky. Thank you, Dolores." So as amazing as that comment was, it was also a little weird too, I thought. You know, when I wrote that post, I certainly hadn't set about to be inspirational. Yet there it was. I'd inspired someone to change, to transform, to aim higher, to take action, and come with me on a journey. And all I'd done was told a story about who I was. And that's when it hit me. That's when I knew. That was the moment that it all made sense, and I realized that the one thing, the one most important thing of all, if you want to be a leader that inspires, a leader who's got a huge impact on the world, and if you want to create a lucrative and loved personal brand, the most important thing of all is who you are and how you make people feel. So just by being who I was and letting it shine through in everything I did without censoring, without changing it, without trying to be who I thought I needed to be to grow my business, I created a personal brand that was inspirational to people. Talk about humbling. So over the past year, I've begun to experiment with opening up and being even more vulnerable in my emails and in my videos, and my tribe has responded passionately. So a little while ago, in response to a recent thread on a marketing group on Facebook asking the question, think about an internet marketer that you admire for whatever reason. What is it that he or she does or knows that you would like to start doing? Someone named Ken that I don't even know, I've never met, wrote this: "I think Marisa Murgatroyd is my inspiration. I think I could be more like her if only I had the energy. I'm definitely a people person, and I fully believe in being genuine and friendly, building relationships with clients and customers, but sadly, I can't seem to muster even a fraction of her energy." So did you notice what Ken admired me for? Was it my expertise? No, it wasn't. Ken admired me for my energy, not my ideas, not my smarts, not my expertise, my energy. Why? So I can only imagine that he wanted more of that in his own life, in his business. And as a consequence, my stuff really stood out for him. And that made me more than just another branding or marketing expert. I was uniquely, unmistakably me. And that's the most powerful positioning that you can have in business. And do you reckon that some of the other people on this thread and in this community looked me up after reading this? You bet they did. So while what you know and what you create and who you know are still key aspects of your personal brand, who you are is the key, the driving factor in all of this. And there's a reason the oldest sales truism goes that people buy from people they know, they like, and they trust. The fact is that nothing has the potential to differentiate you more in the market than being uniquely and identifiably you. And this flows through your personality, your energy or the dominant feeling tone you give off, your values and beliefs or what you stand for, your personal story or why you do what you do, your voice or the way that you express yourself, and your physical appearance. These are all key parts of your personal brand. And far from being touchy-feely, it's these nonverbal who you are and how you make people feel elements that are your most valuable business assets. They're actually responsible for 80% of people's buying decisions. So let me repeat this because it's so important. Just 20% of the reason people choose to buy from you is based on what you know. And a full 80% is based on how you make them feel, consciously or not. So in other words, just 20% of the impact that you've got and the impression you make is based on what you know, and a full 80% is based on who you are and how you come across. So I want to invite you to start thinking about what your personal brand could look like in these terms, because you might be making the same mistake I made for so many years and the same mistake that I've noticed my students and clients making. So more often than not, and the better they are at what they do, the less they feel the need for that touchy-feely stuff. They kind of assume people will naturally see how brilliant they are, like a diamond in the rough, and that's what's going to make people want to work with them. And they assume wrongly that their brilliance speaks for itself, that their brilliance negates the need to develop a strong personal brand that leads with who they are. So it's just so easy to spend decades or even your entire life getting wicked good at your craft, really mastering what you do, going to seminar after seminar, getting certifications and PhDs, because it feels like you're making progress and learning new skills. So I know that I wanted to be valued for my intelligence and my ideas. And it took me completely by surprise when I found out that just 1/3 of our success in life is based on our IQ, and a full 2/3 of our success comes from our emotional intelligence, or our ability to connect and resonate with others. So let me ask you, are you hiding behind your knowledge and expertise and forgetting to show who you are in your business? Are you forgetting to brand yourself so the world can see just how brilliant you are? So my point here is that if you're struggling to get your message out and get those customers in the door, then relax, because it probably means that you're really good at what you do. You've got that part covered. And I'm going to devote the rest of this webinar to showing you specifically how to cultivate the other 3 elements of your personal brand: what you create, who you know, and who you are, so you can finally stand out and be seen. So now that you understand the 4 elements of your personal brand in order of priority, we're going to look at how to build a lucrative and loved personal brand with Facebook using nothing but a few simple status updates. So I'm going to show you some specific examples of how people get across who they are in a way that really inspires people to like and engage with them, then respect them, and then finally do business with them. So let me take a sip of water, then let's drill down into Facebook. All right. So here's a recent Facebook status update from video marketing expert Matthew Peters. This is just a casual post on his personal profile to 1,441 friends, not even his fan page. So within just a few hours, it got 51 likes and over a dozen comments. So this is a great example of what it looks like to lead with who you are, rather than hiding behind your expertise. So the kind of response that you get when you step forward, and how to use Facebook status updates to build your personal brand in the marketplace. So this post definitely makes you feel something, and it's a terrific example of the power of leading with who you are before what you know. Heading to the gym on my motorcycle. My mom bought this bike for my dad new back in 1981 when we lived on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. My dad gave up a lot to go from working in a lab in the city with his college degree to having the lab job and running a dairy farm due to family obligations. 9 years of work on a dairy in the 1980s was probably just about the toughest time for farmers since the Depression era. He was paying 21% interest on his loans and dealing with sick cows and broken machinery, cows calving, planting, harvesting, working from 4:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day. FYI, cows don't take vacations. So this motorcycle means more to my dad, more than transportation to me. For my dad, I believe that a stepping away from the farm duties for a few minutes on this motorcycle was his taste of freedom. It was his vacation. I cannot fathom the stress that he woke up to face at 4:30 in the heat and the cold and endured every single day. So when people tell me today about their first world problems, that people are not flocking to their business, or they complain about not locking their loan in at 3.5%, I think about growing up on the farm and what my dad stepped up to do, to provide, to sacrifice himself, and put his agenda and dreams in life on hold for his family. No comparison. Thank you, Dad. Wow. Let that one sink in for a moment. Now let me ask you a question. What does this post reveal to you? Does this post show you the kind of man that Matthew is? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat box. Now, do you have a sense of Matthew's values, where he comes from, and what he stands for? Yes or no? And does this post make you more or less likely to reach out to Matthew? For me, Matthew's post is sending the signals that he respects his body. He's on the way to the gym after all. Also, family is important to him, something which resonates with me. He's got great respect for his parents, and he has a great work ethic. So his mention of the loan payments at 21% imply that if he makes a commitment, he's going to honor it, no matter the cost. And finally, he seems grounded, like he lives in the real world, knowing what's actually important in life. In other words, this is a guy I would not only want to do business with, this is a guy that I'd actually like to have a beer with, right? All in all, this is a great example of conveying key elements of your personal brand in one compelling status update that's going to get you massive engagement, attract your customers, and grow your business fast. So, okay? So you see, it's the language and the words that you use in your updates that reveal what you value in life, whether you value serving others or whether you're in it purely for self-gain. Your language reveals if you're fired up about what you do or just going through the motions. They also reveal how you feel about yourself and how you feel about others, your underlying values, your beliefs, your prejudices or biases, whether you intend to show this or not. And this can be tricky to get right, especially if you've never really thought about the impact of what you say and what you write and how you're coming across to others. The thing is, we live in a world where anything you do. And anything you do and you say can be used for or against you. Your choice of words inspire people to follow you and to ultimately buy from you or to click away and never look back. And in that world, a single tweet can send you to the big time or it can end your career. So if you think I'm exaggerating, then let me share this example with you. Last December, PR executive Justine Sacco fired off a quick tweet before she boarded a flight to South Africa. She said, "Going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS, just kidding, I'm white." So Justine only had a few hundred Twitter followers, but that tweet went viral anyway. During the 12 hours that she was on the plane, completely oblivious to the firestorm that she'd created, the tweet went viral. Her following spiked, and reporters headed to the airport to greet her on arrival. So as soon as Justine realized what a huge scandal she created with her offhand remark, she deleted the tweet in her account, and she made a formal apology, but it was too late. She'd already lost her job. She appeared in videos, and she had appeared in videos and headlines across the internet, and she actually received death threats. So one CNN journalist who reported on the story wrapped up his video broadcast with an observation. He said, "I worked with Justine for a few years as a reporter, asking her questions about our company, but I never knew the side of her that appeared on Twitter. But I guess that's the point. Until people started to notice, she was relatively safe in obscurity." Let me repeat that last time. Until people started to notice, she was relatively safe in obscurity. So the reason why this is so important, and the reason why I bring this up, is because as soon as you step forward as the face and voice of your brand, people are going to start noticing. And the more successful you become, the more people will take notice. And that's a good thing, because that means that you're making a difference with who you are and what you know. It also means that you have to take full responsibility for who you are and what you know. So how do you go about doing this for yourself? How do you translate all that you are and reduce it to the size of a status update? So the key to creating a lucrative and loved personal brand is to start to become aware of your feeling tone. In other words, how do you naturally come across? How do you show up? And how do you make people feel? Did you get a sense of Matthew's distinctive feeling tone when I read his update? And I saw from your comments, you said, yes, 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 yes. You got a feeling for who Matthew was as a man. So once you've identified your feeling tone, and I'm going to give you some great pointers on exactly how to do that in just a second, then you can easily and freely make a conscious choice to accentuate that tone and literally become more of who you are. Amplifying those unique parts of you that really stand out. The parts of you that really and truly differentiate you from everybody else who does what you do. Those parts that resonate with others. And doing this means that you can step forward as the face and voice of your brand and truly lead with who you are in an inspirational way, in a way that actually inspires other people to become more of who they are. So let me now give you an example of how one man found his unique feeling tone. How many of you know the legendary singer-songwriter Leonard Cohen? This guy is sometimes called the musical poet and the troubadour of the 20th century. So believe it or not, Leonard Cohen wasn't always Leonard Cohen. When he first got started as a young singer-songwriter, he consciously created a brand around himself and his music that he thought people would like, music that he thought would sell. And he failed miserably, and he started to question his path in life. So what he did is he joined a Zen Buddhist monastery to figure out where his life was going and what he needed to change. So one day he went up to his Zen master Roshi and asked him why he was struggling, why he was unhappy, and why his music career wasn't taking off. So Roshi listened to Leonard's question and then asked to hear his music. So Leonard brought in a little boombox and played him some music. The monk listened thoughtfully for a while, and then he turned to Leonard and said, "Leonard, you should sing sadder." Wow, let that absorb for a moment. You see, we're all blind to how other people see us. And so Roshi, he could see what Leonard couldn't. Roshi could see that the true Leonard was someone who was deeply melancholy, someone truly affected by the world. And he could see that it was both his blessing and his curse. Leonard thought that no one would want to hear, what he thought was a sad man singing sad songs in sad times. He thought it would just bum people out, but Roshi saw something different. Roshi knew that sadness was the core essence of who Leonard was, the feeling tone that was his and his alone. It just so happened that there were millions of other people in the world who resonated with Leonard's deep poetic sadness, his longing, and his melancholy. The moment Leonard let that feeling tone shine through in his work, it actually began to sing sadder. He pretty much instantly had that lucrative and loved personal brand. So the lesson here is that regardless of who you are, regardless of your traits and characteristics, there are people who are going to resonate with them. Like there are millions of people in the world who resonate with Leonard Cohen's particular brand of sadness. That's why he's actually become a best-selling musician. And I see Serena here in the audience says, "Wow, for a few seconds I was frightened that this was a positive example. That made me super uncomfortable." And that's exactly it, Serena. It's like when Leonard chose to take a stand for who he really is, he's got a sad quality. But there are a lot of people who resonate with that sad quality, who aren't all about, let's look at the glass is half full and the sky is always shiny and hi and my name is Flanders. Not everybody relates to that kind of positivity. So by being himself and by identifying his true feeling tone, he was able to resonate with people who would just call BS on that kind of positive outlook that some people portray. So it might make other people uncomfortable who aren't really, open to that kind of feeling tone. But what it does is it magnetizes the people who are. And by authentically being himself, he became like a best-selling blockbuster platinum artist, where before he just sounded like everybody else. And that's a real lesson in business for all the coaches and the writers and the entrepreneurs out there. And we're going to keep talking about that. So let me give you another example of feeling tone from the world of business and entrepreneurship and how it can show up in the form of Facebook status updates. So Leela Cosgrove is a successful Australian internet marketer with tattoos running up and down her arms and a blonde gray bob cut with a shock of pink hair, right? So just this year, really big internet marketers like Frank Kern and Ryan Dice brought her on their stages and hired her, right? So what's Leela's feeling tone? So believe it or not, she's known and loved for being abrasive, right? For telling it like it is and pardon the expression, having a bit of an FU attitude. So let's take a look at how this feeling tone shows up on Leela's Facebook page. And remember, I'm using extreme examples here to show a point. So Leela has a public figure fan page on Facebook where she lists her role as monarch and she describes herself as the Minister for Propaganda and Strategic Anarchy. I help entrepreneurs to double their business in 12 months. So it gets better. So when I check, the first two posts on our Facebook page are this: only idiots spend money advertising for likes. So only Leela can call people idiots and get dozens of likes and positive comments. And her next post is, it's not about how much money you have. It's not even about whether I can help. It's about whether you're a good fit for my business. And if you're not, I don't care how much money you have or how much I could help you. I'm going to reject you. I choose my clients and I'm super picky. Great marketing tactic, right? To tell people you're going to reject them if they're not a good fit, regardless of how much money they have and whether you can help. So Leela's voice just drips attitude that seems to attract the hardcore, no BS internet marketing crowd in droves. And I saw people asking about talking to men and women. Well, Leela attracts a lot of guys or kind of punk rock women, and you can see why. And they still have money to spend, right? They love her like crazy. So I'm not saying that you should be melancholy like Leonard Cohen or abrasive like Leela Cosgrove. I'm saying be more of who you are already. Turn up the volume on the feeling tone that permeates everything you do, whether you're aware of it or not. So let me give you one more example before we move on. Business strategist Suzanne Evans has a no-nonsense feeling tone like Leela Cosgrove, but she mixes it up with a spoonful of change the world style inspiration, right? And it's such a distinctive flavor of get off your ass and make stuff happen writing that you could strip away all the branding from her emails and remove her signature at the bottom, and you'd still know that it came from her. Can you imagine being that clear about the feeling tone of your personal brand voice? So clear that it carries through loud and clear through everything that you say and everything you write? So clear, in fact, that you become not just remarkable, but an unmistakable voice in the marketplace, full of voices that are clamoring for attention, trying to sound like everybody else and getting nowhere. Now, I want you to imagine what could happen if you took that concept and applied it to Facebook, specifically to a Facebook status update. So with Facebook, every single one of us has a golden opportunity that's never before existed in all of history to regularly, and I mean every single day, talk to thousands of people about your values and your beliefs with a voice that's your own and nobody else's. When you regularly share key details from your life, people start to feel like they know you. Not the guru, not the expert, but the real you. Each time you talk to your audience in this way, you become more memorable, more vulnerable, and in the process, one step closer to a lucrative and loved personal brand. So let's roll up our sleeves and get to it. Now that you're beginning to have a sense of your unique energy and your feeling tone, what else do you need to put into those status updates of yours to actually spark engagement, to inspire love and devotion from your fans, from your tribe, and to really bring in the new customers and the sales? So to help you figure this out, I've created 3 easy-to-follow steps that show you exactly what to post and the right way to post it. So let me give you each step quickly, then I'm going to dive in and illustrate each one. So step 1 is having an image. You know, we live in an ultra-short attention span world, so you need to quickly grab attention through an image that jumps out of the newsfeed. This image needs to reinforce your personal brand. So research, in my own personal experience, shows that Facebook posts with images get 5 to 10 times the engagement as written posts. But you just got to make sure that image counts. So step 2 is to kiss the lead. You know, you want to start focusing in on the words, and there's nothing more important than that first sentence. In journalism, as they always say that, kiss the lead. So people start reading and can't stop. From there, you've got to keep them engaged through using details about your life, as well as a few ninja positioning strategies that I'm about to show you that's going to establish you as a trusted authority. So I'm also going to answer the question, how long should my posts be? Then the final step is to share a story, an incident, or a moment in time with specific details that pull in the reader so they not only keep reading, but feel inspired, even compelled to engage, comment, or take whatever action you want them to. It's important that the story you tell shows details of your life that demonstrate your values and allows people to see you in their mind's eyes and form their own opinion about you. So let's dive into how this works in practice. I like to teach with detailed examples when it comes to this kind of stuff because I don't think the general advice that most experts give, you know, really broad suggestions like incorporate personal stories and share details from your life, are all that helpful. So if you really want to understand what it means to express your personal brand through your posts, then you need the specifics. So let's start by analyzing Matthew Peters' amazing post that I shared with you earlier. Then we're going to go through a few more of my favorite examples of establishing your personal brand through Facebook. So step 1, image. Matthew chose to use a picture of his dad's motorcycle, which supported the post that he wrote telling the story behind the motorcycle. So looking at that photo, you would probably never guess the history behind that very ordinary looking bike. And that's exactly the point. So step 2 is kiss the lead. Matthew then shares a specific moment with us, that of riding the bike to the gym, right? And that nicely opens the way for him to flash back to his childhood. So he kisses the lead beautifully by evoking curiosity about the motorcycle that he's riding through a few specific details, such as exactly when and where it was purchased and under what conditions. For example, Matthew doesn't say the bike was purchased in the 1980s in Wisconsin. Boring, right? He says, my mom bought this bike for my dad new back in 1981 when we lived on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. So story coach and Broadway star Bo Eason always says that the more specific you are, the more universal you become. And the level of specific detail that Matthew uses here makes all the difference in how he pulls you into his story. Because as Matt shares specific details about his dad, you think about your dad. When he shares a specific story from his childhood, you can't help but flash back to your own childhood. And that's why by telling stories from your life, you allow people to bypass their inner critic and connect deeply with the emotion that's there for them in their own lives. And by association, connect you with that emotion. So step 3 is story. So Matthew continues this approach by filling his post from beginning to end with more specific details like the exact time that his dad woke up and the exact amount of interest his dad paid on loans. And it's these hyper-specific details that allow you to connect with Matthew in a deep way rather than a vague, I grew up poor in Wisconsin kind of way. Do you see the difference? You know, the approach that I'm demonstrating here is all about showing rather than telling. The more you show the details of your life, the more people see you in their mind's eye and form their own opinions about you. This forms a deep level of connection and trust beyond anything that you can manufacture yourself. So instead of telling us he grew up poor in Wisconsin, where all that really matters is family, he shows us. He gives us specific details, characters, events, and memories. And he takes his time doing it too. His post is relatively long for Facebook, 247 words. People read it, from beginning to end because he's showing them a glimpse into his dad's world, full of specific details that allow them to form an image in their minds and feel something. So have you ever noticed that no matter how busy we get in our day-to-day lives, we've always got time for a story? All right, so now you may be wondering what Matthew's story had to do with business. Well, on the surface, nothing, right? Which is paradoxically what makes the story really work for him, and here's why. Matthew is a high-paid business coach. He advises people on creating a lifestyle business based on their expertise. And what this post powerfully does is it shows the difference between his life and his dad's life, and the difference between being in debt and being obliged to work a second job to pay your bills to support your family, and Matthew's life of freedom, illustrated by riding his bike to the gym. In this one post, Matthew manages to powerfully convey his values and certain themes of his life. On the surface, it tells you that Matthew's a homeboy from Wisconsin. It tells you that he grew up poor, but also, very importantly, he never made himself into a victim. And if you dig a little bit deeper, you get the sense that Matthew is a real family man, which he is. His posts are always full of photos of his beautiful wife and his kids. He's also riding a motorcycle to the gym. So you get the feeling that Matthew's fit and he likes a good adventure. So you see, everything in this post reinforces Matthew's background and gives him massive credibility, not through his expertise, but through his humanity. So reading this post, you just get the sense that Matthew's a really good, a really kind man, someone you like and you trust, and someone you wouldn't mind hanging out with. And let me tell you, if you know Matthew, that's exactly who he is. So did people respond to this post? You bet they did. This one casual post on his personal profile within a few minutes got like 53 likes and 12 comments. And finally, the fourth thing that Matthew Peters does is he ends his post in a way that relates back to his audience and to what he does in a way that actually challenges people to appreciate what they have. So when people today tell me about their first world problems, that people are not flocking to the business or complain about not locking their loan in at 3.5%, I think about growing up on the farm and what my dad stepped up to do, to provide, to sacrifice himself and put his agenda and dreams and life on hold for his family. No comparison. Thank you, Dad. Just take a moment and absorb that one more time. Take a moment to do that. So Matthew's actually stepping up to lead his tribe here, and he's inspiring them to become better and become more. He's actually challenging them to put aside their gripes and to appreciate what they have. So now let me ask you, if you were in the market for a business coach, if you're someone who resonated with that story, Would you consider hiring Matthew based on what you know about him? Of course you would. And now, all without a hint of feeling sold to, right? So let me give you another example of this 3-step approach to writing a Facebook status update so it really sinks in. This one is from the brand photographer Marshall Wayne, who is my absolute favorite person to follow on Facebook. So Marshall's a master at turning every day of his life into a memorable and shareable occasion. And there are several best practices that he uses that are truly remarkable from a personal branding perspective that we can all learn from. First is that Marshall's constantly featuring his client work on Facebook in a way that, instead of being all about how awesome he is, shows how awesome his clients are. So instead of focusing on himself 100% of the time like most people do, Marshall is constantly giving shout outs to his clients in a way that makes you want to be his client. You know, remember that who you are and the relationships you have is the second most important part of personal branding. Sorry, who you know and the relationships you've got is the second most important part of personal branding. So regardless of what kind of business you're in, giving public shout-outs to your partners, to your clients, and your customers, it's a super powerful way to position the awesomeness of your own work while featuring someone other than you. Whether you call it reverse social proof, credibility by association, or stealth positioning, this works. So here's an example of this where Marshall showcases the results of his work for his client, Eric Daniel, in a way that makes it super compelling to want to hire Marshall. So let's dissect this. Step 1, photo. First up, you've got the photo, which speaks for itself, right? Just look at this. It speaks for itself. Step 2, you'll notice how Marshall kisses his lead by sharing an outcome that any man would want. 258 shares, 409 likes, and 120 friend requests on this image already. Plus, he also got some juicy feedback from women in private messages, right? Catches your attention. And third comes the story. I'm going to read the rest of his post here before we analyze exactly what he's doing to get so much engagement. Eric and I are working on a new website for him that's going to blow away what people are used to seeing. In the meantime, since that takes a while, we figured we'd do some image quotes for fun. So just over an hour ago, he came to me with this idea. We grabbed a photo we'd done from a photo shoot we did last year in San Diego and added the text we'd seen from the TI quote, "Done." So the reason this simple post is so effective is that Marshall's not only showcasing his work and illustrating the results of his work, he's also sharing some behind-the-scenes information from his photo shoot with Eric Daniel that makes this post seem personal rather than promotional. We all love that behind-the-scenes stuff. You know, finding out how something was created makes us feel a little bit more in the know and kind of fulfills our curiosity about people. Now, a final yet very important piece of personal branding genius that Marshall does to reinforce his work on Facebook is to really kind of powerfully model his own work. So in this case, he uses his post to showcase his spectacular branding photography to the world. So remember how we talked about the 4 parts of your personal brand? Well, what you create is a powerful illustration of what you do for people, and it's amazing how many people forget to model their own work. So Marshall is a brand photographer, and he's constantly creating and posting iconic photographs of himself. Makes sense, right? Every photograph he posts of himself reinforces what he does by showing his passion for his work. So here's one last example that got Marshall 128 likes and 82 comments. Step 1. Of course, we've got the photograph. You'd expect nothing less from a brand photographer. Step 2. Kiss the lead. And then you've got Marshall's lead. And this builds massive intrigue and curiosity. There's an unwritten rule in Wisconsin that you can't visit for longer than a month without shooting something. Well, I've hit that limit. Step 3, story. Marshall continues his post by sharing the process and philosophy behind his work in a way that's relatable, transparent, and vulnerable. He pulls back the cloak and allows us to look in. If I'm going to kill something, I'm doing it in style. In truth, this is a nod to an iconic photo shoot Steve McQueen did for Life magazine. I spend a lot of time thinking about how to capture that iconic essence, that magic that certain people have. Emulating iconic photos helps me reverse engineer that magic. Even though I threw my icon engineering system video together in haste, I don't like it as is, and I'm going to redo it soon. It gives insight into what I do, and then it gives a link to his product. So do you see how Marshall manages to promote his icon engineering course here without even seeming to promote it? Instead, you feel drawn by him, intrigued to learn more, and all without feeling sold to at all. So is this giving you any ideas for how you can model your work in a way that showcases your products and services without being directly promotional? In other words, how can you showcase your work in a way that seems natural and unobtrusive, that pulls people in rather than pushing them away? So when you do this, you can actually sell more while making a difference in people's lives. So are you starting to see the possibilities for using Facebook to create deep relationships with your tribe based on who you are rather than what you know? So let me know in the comments box if you've had any ahas. All right, and I'm going to read them out in just a second. And Lori and Gary, if you can watch out for those and let me know when they come in. So I want you to just imagine the possibilities when you apply these personal branding principles to the rest of your business, whether it's in person, on stage, at a networking event, in a client meeting, or online through your videos, your emails, your websites, and much more. So what's possible for you becomes limitless when you package and market yourself as if you already were a brand or an icon, starting today. When you tap into the unique qualities and attributes of who you are, and you express those qualities consistently. And when you make a first strong impression and then reinforce that impression over and over again until others can literally picture you in their mind's eye, describe you, feel what it's like to be in your presence, even if they've never met you before. So imagine what's possible for you when you figure out who you are and what makes you different in a way that matters, in a way that resonates with people, not just being different for the sake of being different. Then enhancing, accentuating, and expressing those unique attributes in everything you say, do, and create. So you become memorable and irreplaceable. And you do this until people take notice, until you get famous. And that, my friends, is exactly what personal branding is all about. Personal branding is conveyed in the very first impression that you make when you walk into a room. And it's what people say about you when you leave. It's also what they say about you before they even meet you. It's how you show up through everything you do. Every email you write, every conversation you have, every video you record, and on and on and on and on. It's the consistent impression that you make day after day. Not just the first impression. Anybody can make a first impression. But the second impression, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and every single impression you make on people every single day. Your personal brand is everything you represent to the tribe of people who follow you and buy from you. It's a combination of the subjective attributes that make you who you are, as well as how you represent those attributes through your physical appearance, through your title, your bio, and, as we've seen, a whole lot more. It's what you stand for in the market, or sometimes even better, what you stand against. This process works for CEOs, for entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, artists, experts, politicians, coaches, you name it. And if you've done this well, then all these attributes and these expressions create a vivid set of associations in the hearts and minds of your audience. It's the gut feeling, the mental image, the first words that come to mind when your customers hear your name, see your logo, attend one of your events, or watch one of your videos. And this is where the magic comes in. And this is what we're going to be doing together in Personal Brand Power. We're going to craft that personal brand of yours in a way that you can fully model and own. Not just today, but year after year, because you are your brand. And you've chosen a set of attributes fully aligned with who you are. A set of attributes that you can maintain without feeling like you've got to put on an act that just isn't you. So what does this look like when it all comes together? What does it look like when you have a well-developed personal brand? You know, how do you feel in the presence of someone who's got this dialed in? So let me give you a few examples that you'll instantly recognize of well-known business leaders with powerful personal brands. So picture in your mind for a second Steve Jobs. Imagine his impeccable, round, almost invisible glasses, his black crew neck shirt tucked into a casual pair of jeans. Now imagine the iPhone 5 or the new MacBook Pro. Impossibly thin, minimal, sleek, at the cutting edge of technology and performance. So desirable that you want to be seen with these products. So effective that once you use them, you can't live without them. They literally become part of your everyday life, part of your lifestyle, your identity. Can you imagine any other man who could have created those products? Can you guess what Steve Jobs' personal values are? If I were to take a stab at it, I'd imagine their innovation, simplicity, and excellence. Now picture Oprah Winfrey in your mind for a moment. Picture her perfectly coiffed hair and her wide, infectious smile. Feel the deep, strong inner confidence that she radiates. Imagine her sitting cross-legged on that famous beige couch in a pair of shiny heels, in a chic yet modest and professional dress or suit. She doesn't have the trimmest, fittest figure, but she loves herself for who she is, and she loves us for who we are. She's had many looks over the 25 years that she hosted the Oprah Winfrey Show, but what came across show after show, season after season, went beyond how she looks. Oprah captivates us with her spirit, energy, and love, her unique gift for making people feel seen, understood, and accepted, regardless of how far they've transgressed or how hopeless they may feel. And by projecting this energy year after year and evoking these feelings in her audience, she's become the most trusted and admired woman in America. The woman people turn to for help and advice. The woman who can instantly launch the career of a new author simply by featuring them on her show. The woman who makes dreams come true. Can anyone guess what Oprah's core values are? I imagine they involve love, acceptance, compassion, self-realization, and humility. So how many of you were able to follow along with me and really picture these two people in your mind? Let me know in the chat. Were you able to picture these people in your mind's eye as I described them? Did you actually feel anything when you heard their names and pictured them? The interesting thing is that I never met Steve, and I've never met Oprah, but yet I was able to describe them in a way that you could really see in your mind's eye. And even though you probably never met them either, my descriptions tapped into associations that you already had of them. And this is how personal branding perpetuates itself, spreading like wildfire from one person to the next. You make a deep, lasting impression on someone, then reinforce that impression day after day, and eventually they buy from you. You know, they tell someone about you, or they refer business to you. Now, I know these are big examples, and the only reason I use such big examples here is that I wanted to highlight people that all of you would instantly know and recognize. But for now, can you see how Steve Jobs and Oprah have shaped every aspect of their businesses around who they are? Do you see how they model their work, the companies they run, and the products they sell? Do you see how their physical appearance supports their message and their brand? And do you see just how memorable each of them are? And just going into the chat, I see Daphne says, yes, I could relate to both Jobs and Winfrey. Daphne says, yes. Rachel says, absolutely. And I see also a bunch of people saying, yes, 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 I could totally see them. And they're two of my favorite brands. And also a bunch of kind of takeaways, too, and aha moments for you that I'm going to come back to and kind of read at the end because I really want to see those. So now I want to ask you, do you think it's a coincidence that each of these entrepreneurs has built multi-billion-dollar businesses? I mean, CelebrityNetWorth.com estimates that Oprah is worth $2.9 billion, and Jobs was worth $10.2 billion when he died. You know, do you think that their respective companies, Harpo Productions and Apple, could have scaled to the heights that they have without their leaders at the helm? You know, absolutely not. These companies are as valuable as they are precisely because they're so intimately linked with their founders. You know, the person who dreamed them into being. You could even call them personality-based businesses. And your number one job in your personality-based business is to be you. Being more of who you are fundamentally differentiates you in the market and elevates you from company to companion, from expertise or product to passion. It allows you to carve a place in the hearts and minds of your audience, just like our three icons did. So, okay, Marisa, you might be asking, if this is so easy, then why doesn't everybody do it? Why isn't everyone stepping forward as the face and voice of their business and brand? So there are three big reasons that I can see. And I'm going to just take a sip of tea here, and then I'll go into these three reasons. And the first one's simple. Most people who are kind of modest, you know, they're just modest. And they associate this kind of stuff with being big-headed or egotistical or self-important. And we've seen so many examples of celebrities just smeared across the tabloids doing kind of ghastly things in the hopes of getting attention, right? But here's the honest truth. And it's going to go against all the common sense. But stick with me here, okay? The honest truth is that the more you put yourself out there, the less it becomes about you, and the more you become a stand for those who are willing and ready to accept the call to adventure, the transformation that you offer. And the thing is, your personal brand isn't really about you. Instead, it's about what you represent. And that's the paradox. A great personal brand is about helping people to see new and better possibilities and futures for themselves. It's about standing for something important and challenging people to travel the path with you. If you dare to do that, you'll allow people to make a clear choice in response to your challenge, whether that's a yes or a no. You'll know you're doing it right when more and more people start to follow you and engage with you. The other way that you know that you're going to be on the right track is when people start to criticize or respond to your challenge with fear or anger or aggression. And that simply means that they're not ready to commit to change, and their criticism is a projection of their own fears and insecurities and have nothing to do with you. And the second reason people sometimes don't feel comfortable stepping forward as the face and voice of their personal brand is that they feel they may lose touch with themselves. You know, they might become something that they're not. And I can't blame anybody for feeling this way, because if you look at how successful people are portrayed in the media, you often see the same misguided archetypes over and over again. From the heartless and ruthless executive who will do anything to get ahead, including breaking the law, to the spoiled starlet who primps and preens herself all day long and orders like gold-plated toilet seats delivered to her dressing room. Then, to make matters worse, on the other end of the spectrum, we've got the starving artist who sacrifices money and success to dedicate their life to their craft, or the misunderstood genius who's so brilliant they can't figure out how to fit into the world and be happy. So these archetypes, they're just not helpful because they suggest that you only have two choices available to you. Either you're broke and authentic, or you're rich and a sellout. And you know what, though? What if it's possible to be both successful and real? The choice really is completely up to you, because your personal brand is what you want it to be. And I hope you can see that the process we're doing here together, it's all about connecting with the subjective attributes that make you who you are. Your superpower, your personality, your energy, your values, your beliefs, why you do what you do, so you can authentically align kind of those subjective attributes, those hidden attributes, with the more visible aspects of your personal brand, with who you really are. You know, things like your appearance and, you know, the materials that you produce, and do it in a way that supports your message and connects with your tribe. So, like I said, we're talking about things like how you dress and what you create. It could be your website, your visual branding, the photographs you use to portray yourself, your title, what you choose to call yourself. All of that is part of your personal brand. And the third reason we sometimes don't step forward as the face and voice of our brand is that we don't know how. This process, it's not something that most people can do alone. Many times you need guidance from a pro on the best way to apply the principles of personal branding to yourself. After all, it's just not easy to see yourself the way that other people see you. You know, remember our story about Leonard Cohen? Even he couldn't identify the feeling tone of his work, what made him different. He had to ask somebody else for their opinion. And to make it even worse, most of the expensive advice you'll get from the so-called personal branding gurus is ultimately cliched and trite. They tell you things like, be authentic, or just be you. And that kind of stuff drives me crazy, because while I do think it's important to be authentic and to be you, I think these statements are often useless and completely misleading. And here's why. Personal branding is all about becoming the best version of yourself without changing your values or the essence of who you are. It's about accentuating and magnifying the best of who you are, becoming more of who you are. At its core, personal branding is about stepping into your role as messenger and owning the qualities that allow you to lead and make an impact on the world. So let me give you an example. So wearing makeup and putting on professional clothes, sorry, there's a plane. Let me just let it go by overhead because it's going to mess up my mic. LA, huh? So let me give you an example. Wearing makeup and putting on professional clothes, it wasn't me, or at least it didn't feel like me when I got my first job as a photographer's assistant, and neither did dressing up for 12 days straight in a pleather superhero costume and getting in front of hundreds of people live on our Superhero Summits series, right? Nor did stepping on stage and leading my first 2-day live solo event last October. Or most of the things that we've done this year to triple our business, from $175,000 a year in 2012 to $500,000 in 2013 to what looks like our first $1 million year. So truth be told, I'm kind of shy. I don't like to be fussed over. I don't like to talk about myself, and I definitely don't enjoy being the center of attention. So every day when I'm not on a Google Hangout like this, I'm sitting around in my pajamas in front of my laptop without an ounce of makeup on. So why am I doing all this? Is it inauthentic? Is it an act? Is it a charade? No, it's not. It's who I need to be and how I need to step up for you to be able to hear my message so I can make the change that I want to see in the world. So I want you to understand this right now. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone right this moment, and I'm stepping out of my comfort zone most of the time. And that's what's in store for you too as you step forward as the face and voice of your brand. And here's the thing. It's tempting to get scared and to back down, but your message and your brand, they're bigger than you and they're bigger than your fears, but they still have to pass through you. And this requires you to step up and step out, literally amplifying the best of who you are, your highest potential, right? What makes you different, and to do so in a way that attracts and resonates with your tribe. Because if people don't believe you, the messenger, then they won't believe your message. If you don't model your work, or if you're not congruent with the message and brand that you're putting out into the world, then you're probably in the wrong business. If you can't be the poster child for your brand, speaking your message day in and day out without getting tired or bored, then you may be in the wrong business, or you aren't expressing yourself enough within your business to be fulfilled. Because when you're excited, when you believe in the words that you speak, when you've aligned your brand with who you really are, people can feel it. It's like it's palpable, it's physical. They get this gut feeling that you're the real deal, the real thing, someone they need to pay attention to. So think back to the last person who truly inspired you to change your life or try something new or different. What was it about them that inspired you? And can you imagine being that person for someone else? Not in a way that's copying anybody else, but in a way that's authentically you. When you step up and take full responsibility for who you are, the signals you're sending, and the impact that you have on others, you hold a space for the transformation of others. When you're willing to walk the talk, practice what you preach, and model your work in the world, you become the standard bearer for those who follow you. This level of alignment creates a massive amount of trust and credibility that goes far beyond business as usual. So when you step forward as the face and voice of your brand, you go from being a service provider, a coach, a practitioner, a theoretician, to becoming a messenger, a leader, a change agent. And now the question's simple. Let me know in the chat box, are you ready to step forward as the face and voice of your business? Are you ready to show the world who you really are so you can inspire them to be more of who they are simply by being more of who you are? Are you ready to model your work so you can show your audience what's possible when they say yes to the results, to the solutions, to the transformations that you offer? Are you ready to step into your role as a messenger and become the flag bearer for your big message for the world? Let me know in the chat box. Are you ready? And I'm checking out your comments here, and it looks like you're all excited and ready to start. But before you start, there's one last thought that I wanted to leave you with. In just 1 hour, I couldn't cover everything that you need to know about creating a personal brand that elevates you to the level of leader, visionary, and icon. And let's be frank with each other. What you've gotten today is just a taste of what personal branding can do for you. It's going to take you more than just one session to really dig down and tap into the full power of your personal brand. In fact, there's a lot more to creating a personal brand that captivates your audience than I could share with you today. You still need to know some important things. Things like, what are the dozens of other aspects of how you show up that attract your audience like honey or repel them like bug spray? How do you take complete control of your personal appearance so that the first impression you're sending is the right one when people see you in person, in a photograph, or on a video, or even on a hangout like what we're doing here? What specific qualities and attributes of your personality are you going to draw together in your unique personal brand that people are going to love? So what do I mean by that? Well, what do you think of when you think of Oprah or Jim Carrey? They all occupy a specific place inside of our hearts thanks to the personality elements that they've chosen to use in their personal brand. They didn't leave anything to chance, and neither should you. So what's the specific feeling tone that you want to evoke in others? You need to not only know what it is, but figure out how to tap into it in a powerful way so your audience not only feels it, but begins to recognize you by it. But choose wisely, because you can't change your mind later without confusing people. What's the best way to express all this through your words, through your emails, your social media posts, your presentations, your videos? This is also referred to as your unique voice. And not just the physical voice, but what you're saying, your words. So mega successful business coach Suzanne Evans tries to write every single email and newsletter in a way that her voice is instantly recognizable. Everybody knows it's her, even if you strip away her name and all the visual branding. Well, you have signature words and phrases, sound bites, and mottos that you use on a regular basis. What are they? And what are the signature stories that you tell that will come to represent the core themes of your life that you share with your audience on social media and beyond? What are your core personal values and beliefs which affect everything you put out into the world and powerfully signal to your audience what you stand for and whether they should trust you? How do you incorporate all this into your personal brand assets? Everything you produce, from your bio and your business card to your website, your books, your products. There are tricks that you need to know to make sure that each single element creates a consistent impression everywhere you go. So all of these elements form your personal brand, the brand of you. And each and every one of these things play a critical role in shaping how your audience perceives and reacts to you. Each one of these signals can support or undermine your message. And all these signals together work to attract, repel, or neutralize your audience. Because there's so much more you need to know, I've created an in-depth training called Personal Brand Power that not only answers all these questions and more, but gathers together a community of people who are stepping forward as messengers, committed to building a tribe around what really matters to them. So with your permission, I'd like to take just 3 to 5 minutes to tell you about the program. And if you're ready to build your tribe and transform your business by tapping into the power of you, then I'd love to have you join us. And right after that, I'm going to move on to Q&A because I want to answer any and all questions that you've got about personal branding, specifically about how to use it to build your tribe and transform your business, and of course about the program itself too. And I can see from the chat there are lots of questions. So when you join me in Personal Brand Power, you're going to get 5 tightly scripted live video training sessions covering everything we know about how to find your personal brand and express it through everything you do. So here's what you're going to learn. In Module 1, your personal brand blueprint, you're going to learn about the #1 trap people who are insanely good at what they do often fall into when it comes to personal branding and how to avoid it. You're going to discover the very same secret of amplification used by superstars like Oprah, Tony Robbins, and Richard Branson, which allows you to accentuate and amplify the best of who you are and attract fans to you, kind of like a magnet. You're going to master the formula for uncovering your superpower, the one unique and amazing quality that you and only you possess, and the one that will set you apart from everyone else in your market. Then in Module 2, The Secret Life of Your Personal Brand, you'll learn to decipher the tiny but super important signals that cause your prospects to form an opinion about you and use them to instantly capture their hearts and minds. You'll discover one simple but powerful exercise that will enable you to become laser focused and strategic about how you project yourself to your prospects. And you'll harness the power of why and learn the reason why it's the cornerstone of your personal branding success. Session 3 is all about tapping into the unique voice that underlies everything about how you communicate to the world and affects how your prospects react to you. You'll learn to ask all the unique qualities, take all the unique qualities that make you who you are and use them to create a distinctive personal brand voice that your fans are going to recognize from a mile away, like Suzanne Evans and Leela Crosgrove, who we saw today. You'll also discover your signature words and how to determine which ones will work like magic to bring you all the fans and customers you can handle. And you'll harness the power of your values and beliefs to craft your superhero story, your bio, and the motto, slogans, and phrases that you use to communicate with the world. So Session 4 is all about using that newly discovered voice of yours to create the core stories that form your brand. You're going to learn the real truth about how to be everywhere. And it's a hint. You actually need to know exactly the right places to focus your efforts, or you're going to wear yourself too thin. You'll also learn to capitalize on the scant 3 to 7 seconds that your average visitor gives you to convince them whether they should stick around or click away and never come back. You'll master the art of visual branding by sending the right visual signals using 3 incredibly potent elements to look like you, feel like you, and get noticed for all the right reasons. You'll use my personal tactics for leveraging social media and email in a way that reinforces your personal brand to your target audience and allows you to stand out above all the noise. And you'll follow my proven blueprint to package up all that brilliance of yours into a signature book, product, or training. So like what I showed you today for social media, I show you how to do that in email and in books and your products and your trainings and in your visual branding and on your website, to do it in all the places that you are. Then in Module 5, Welcome to the Brand of We, you'll learn the secrets of bringing new people into your world and expertly nurturing those who have already embraced your brand. You'll get my off-the-radar strategies to keep your tribe super engaged and build a deeper level of community, not just between you and your audience, but also with each other. You'll discover how to earn more money and create deeper customer relationships without having to constantly add more customers. And you'll acquire the skills to act as your own personal brand ambassador every moment of every day to build deep and lucrative customer relationships with your existing customers to ensure that they come back to you again and again. It's not just a one-time deal. It's about building relationships that last for years to come. So the usual price for this is $697, and this program's been closed since last November. But because you came to this training, I'm going to open up access for a one-time investment of $497. And we also have a 3-pay option for you too. So I really want to inspire you to get started stepping forward as the face and voice of your brand. So just click the orange button below this video, and you'll go to our Personal Brand Power webpage. And at the top, you're going to see a big green Get Started button. Just click that, and I'd love to work with you. Now let me share with you the best part. When you invest today, in addition to this practical and in-depth personal brand training, you're also going to get these 5 valuable bonuses as my gift to you. So your first bonus, valued at $47 a month, is complimentary access to the private Facebook group only for personal brand students and alumni. So this vibrant community is going to be invaluable to you as you grow and build your personal brand. Because remember, sometimes other people can see you more clearly than you can see yourself. Your second bonus, valued at $97, is our famous personal brand showcase. So we've spent hours scouring the internet for great examples of people just like you who are stepping forward as the face of their brand, and found 6 amazing examples that we've collected together into a personal brand showcase in the membership area. So we dissect each one, and we show you what they're doing and give you the key takeaways for each. So this is going to be a huge inspiration for you as you begin to make your way with personal branding. It's really helpful to have examples. The third bonus, valued at $97, is a 90-minute session with Ariana Hall. So Ariana is the world's leading coach on self-expression and authenticity. So the session is called 3 Seconds to Engage Your Audience, and it's never been released outside of this program. She helps you work through any unconscious blocks or tics that you've got with your self-expression and shows you where to focus your energy so your audience gets the most out of what you're saying. So I coached with Ariana privately for years, so I could step up and do what I'm doing here today. Your fourth bonus, valued at $97, is from Brad Axelrad. So he's a founding member of the Association of Transformational Leaders, and it's a never-before-released 90-minute session from my Message to Money live event, and it's called Face Your Dragon, Share Your Message. So people in the audience literally had breakthroughs. They were in tears during this session as Brad guided them into and through the fears that were getting in the way of sharing their message with the world. And as a semi-pro motocross racer, you know, Brad knows a thing or two about busting through enormous amounts of fear. So your fifth bonus is a powerful set of audio vocal exercises and warm-ups from award-winning performer and international authority on vocal empowerment, Ariella Forstein. So a lot of people neglect their voice and they forget to warm up before they speak, and because of that, their performance isn't as powerful as it could have been. These exercises will make sure you've got the chops to carry your brand voice and tell your brand story. So let's recap what you're getting here. So you're getting the full personal brand power training, over 10 hours of in-depth video training to help you create your own lucrative and loved personal brand, plus 5 bonuses worth over $350 in extra value, access to our private Facebook group, the Personal Brand Showcase, Ariana Hall's 3 Second to Engage Your Audience training, Brad Axelrad's never-before-released session on facing your dragons and sharing your message, the Ariella Approach vocal exercises and warm-ups. So that's an extra $357 of bonus value, and we're not done yet. When you invest live on the call today, you're also going to get this extra bonus I save for last because it's the most powerful bonus of all, and it's only available live on this call. If you're listening to the replay, sorry, but it's too late for you to grab this extra bonus. With this extra bonus gift, you can send one aspect of your personal brand to me for review, whether that's your logo, your bio, your story, your Facebook page, and I'm going to look it over and record detailed audio feedback just for you. So you're going to have an extra set of eyes, like a professional perspective, on one key element of your personal brand. So because personal branding is kind of like using a plant cutting to grow a new plant, if you've got that one little snippet, that one little piece that really works, that captures the essence of who you are, then you can replicate that out into everything that you do. So I'd love to help you create that one little piece if you take action while we're live on this call. Finally, when you invest $497 today, I want you to know that you're doing so with 100% security because you're covered by our no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you take the time to go through our course and decide that you don't like it, then return it at any stage within 30 days and our team will arrange a full refund. So before you make the decision to work with me, I just wanted to share with you what one professional brand power student by the name of Mary Ann Einerson said recently. She said, "I've learned that I need to be more present in my brand," meaning me. "I thought of this business dreamt up almost exactly a decade ago as I typed this, as a thing that no one would care about, much less be interested in what I had to say. So I've tried 4 different web design companies at this point, eating up more than 2 years in the last dribbles of savings. I feel that I've tried everything but letting my brand reflect more of me. I'm now bringing more of me into the website, and it feels great." And then there's my student Emily Filaramo who said, "I spent a significant 5-figure sum in masterminds with other gurus before I found Marisa. Marisa's low-ticket programs, less than $500, deliver more value and go deeper than masterminds costing $15,000. If I had just spent $1,000 with Marisa in the first place, I didn't find her until I paid for all the other masterminds, I would have gotten to where I am today faster with a lot more money intact in my bank account." Marisa goes deep in helping you understand the psychology behind why you need to do what you need to do to market your business and stand out as a leader. Her programs have reinforced that it's at the edges that others notice you, and I'm not afraid to be edgy. I used to sound like every other life and health coach out there, and now I get noticed because I'm being bold and edgy with who I am and what I have to offer. I've gotten noticed by other personal development gurus because of my story and because of my brand. People email me to say how powerful they think my website is. My following is growing fast because of my message. So I think that you'll agree with me that it's finally time for you to step out of the shadows and into the spotlight by building a personal brand that's going to lift you above the white noise and into that 1% of entrepreneurs who get the premium clients, the exposure, the coverage, the book deals, the stages, the authorities, and the success. The 1% of entrepreneurs who become the leaders that we know and love. Not just the business owners, but the leaders who change the world. And you don't have to go it alone. For just $497, join us in this in-depth training that not only shows you the path, but will gather a community of people around you who have all stepped forward as the face and voice of the brands, and who can support and uplift you in creating a business that you love, a business that expresses who you are, and a business that makes a positive impact on those around you. So if all this sounds good, then click the big orange button below this video or go to personalbrandpower.me/go and get started. So remember that you have until the end of this call to get the fast action bonus where I review one key element of your personal brand. All right, so it's time to hit the Q&A and answer your questions about personal branding and about the Personal Brand Power program. So Gary and Lori and Murray, well, I see lots of stuff happening in the chat and lots of questions. What do you got for me? And I see here, yeah, what do you have for me?
Well, Murray's been collecting them all and letting people know, so I don't know what he was planning with that unless he wants us to go back and pull them.
So yeah, why don't we see if there's any questions about the program, and then we can cover all the other questions about the content.
Great.
So what do you got for me?
Well, I want to thanks to Janine, who really got the power of this offer. The personal brand view is worth more than the price of the whole package, just to have your professional opinion and suggestions.
Definitely. So I see some questions here. I see Anne's asking, how is personal brand power different from message to money? So the main thing about personal brand power is about you. Message to money is about your overall business messaging and branding and your product messaging and branding. But personal brand power is about you and what makes you different. And so I think that one of the biggest first steps in business, especially if you're a coach or you're a solopreneur, you're building a business around your knowledge and your expertise, is to figure out what makes you different. So a lot of people don't take the time to do this. So you can kind of build an amazing business around yourself, but if you're not coming forward in that business, it's always like something's missing. So the main difference is that personal brand power is focused on personal branding, on yourself and who you are and how you want to be for your audience and how you want to make people feel and accentuating that, while message to money is about your overall business building.
We have a question from Daphne. She says, if I can only purchase one of your programs, which one would you suggest I purchase if I'm just getting started?
So Daphne, that's hard to know without knowing more about you. So personal brand power, like I said, it's more about who you are in your business and how you want to lead. And Message to Money is more of a step-by-step business building course, and you can find that at messagetomoney.com. So that's a very comprehensive business building course. But some people go through Message to Money, but they're not ready to build their business yet because they don't know who they are and why they're doing what they do and what they want. And so personal brand power is about identifying that. So if you feel like you're ready to jump into building, the entire business, maybe Message to Money. But if you feel like you've got to discover more about yourself and who you want to be as a business owner and how to represent that in everything you do, then I'd say personal brand power is a really amazing first step. And for certain kinds of businesses like coaches and authors and speakers, I think personal brand power actually comes before building a business. Like who you are is what really causes people to say yes to you or not. So that's really what I recommend based on kind of what you are.
Rebecca asked, do you think you can rebrand yourself if people already see you in one particular way?
Oh, absolutely. So it takes a little bit of work, but there's something called the law of recency. And the law of recency is that people remember the last thing that they've heard. And so one of the things that I've discovered with my students over and over and over again is that as soon as they start to shift the way that they talk, as soon as they start to show up in a different way, people start to respond differently. So you can recreate who you are to your audience at any point in time. And you've probably seen lots of business owners and musicians and artists recreate themselves kind of time and time again. I don't recommend kind of reinventing yourselves all the time because it can start to get confusing for your audience. But I definitely think that if you want to do the soul searching to start portraying yourself in a different way and stepping more into your business, it's a great time to do it and to really think through kind of how you want to come across and what aspects of yourself you want to accentuate. Because one of the things that I teach you is you can't accentuate everything. Because if you do, you become too complex. And you'll see this example in politics. You'll have people like, say, a John Kerry or an Al Gore. And not to get into politics, but they lost the elections partly because people couldn't tell who they were. They had very complex intellectual personalities, and it was just lost on people. So sometimes, even if you're smart, and even if you're really good at what you do, especially if you're smart and good at what you do, you've got to be able to simplify things down into a few core elements rather than trying to be everything to be everyone and to kind of accentuate everything, because when you do that, it kind of gets lost,
Well, I have one. Walking Cloud says, Marisa, how did you finally choose how you wanted to brand yourself? It seems like we can easily get locked into a persona. What made you finally say, this is it for me?
Well, first of all, I think that, it was a bit of a process for me because I didn't have personal brand power at the time. I hadn't mapped out the exact formulas for creating a personal brand. So it was more of a process. I started to express more of myself in little bits and pieces, first in my emails and then in my blog posts, and started telling more stories. And the response that I got back was more and more kind of overpowering. So it's just like people just responded more and more and more to me the more that I shared of myself. And so I started to get bolder and bolder, and then I started to realize which elements of who I was mattered the most. And that's kind of what I ended up putting into the program. So I realized that I wanted to be smart. I didn't want to dumb myself down. I wanted to be real. I didn't want to put myself on a pedestal. Wanted to be relatable and still inspirational. So those are some of the elements that I'm bringing out, and a lot more than that too. And it's reflected in my style statement. It's reflected in the backgrounds that you see. It's reflected in all of that. And I did want to quickly welcome Jean to the program. So Jean, welcome to the program. And I look forward to working with you and that brand audit. So awesome.
And also, Anne would like to know, how is personal brand blueprint different from message to money?
Answer that one, Lori.
Oh, you answered that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So I see a question here from Valerie, which is, and before I answer that, I just wanted to welcome two more students to the program. We've got Elizabeth and Gail and Mary Lou, so a few more people to the program. So welcome. Congratulations for stepping forward as the face and voice of your brand. Huge welcome to you. And a couple more questions here that I see, and is one from Serena, who says, what about delegating some parts of your communication to your staff who don't recognize your voice in the messages they convey to your audience? Well, Serena, that's only a problem if you haven't defined your personal brand. Because if you haven't said clearly, I've actually got a 3-page worksheet called How to Copy My Voice that goes into all sorts of elements of my personal brand and aspects of my personality. And I give that to people who are doing social media management for me, people who are doing any kind of ghostwriting, my staff. I tell them how I want them to come across in our customer support emails and how I want people to feel heard and acknowledged. So we talk about that through every aspect of our personality, because we've identified what I've identified what my values are and how I want to show up and how I want to be represented by all the other people in the business. So if you're delegating to staff, then I'd say it's even more important to do this work, because they can't guess who you are. You've got to define it for them and then tell them specifically, okay, here are my 5 values. Here's what my voice is like. Here are some signature phrases and mottos that I want you to weave through all of my social media so it sounds like me. When you get to that level of specificity and you've consciously branded yourself, that's when it becomes a lot easier to have a whole team behind you. Like I've got a ghostwriter who's working on translating, one of my courses into a book. I've got a social media manager. I've got a customer support team. I've got people doing sales calls on our behalf. I've got people copywriting different pages in our business. I still write our blogs, and me and Murray take turns with writing our content, but it all sounds like consistent because we've done this work to define ourselves. And that's really, I think, the thing that makes you a real pro and allows you to kind of scale up and grow your business. And I did want to welcome Raymond to the program, and there are, by the way, a lot of men in this course too who've gone through it. It's not just for women, it's for anyone who wants to consciously show up and be themselves. It's for anybody who wants to do that and, really define how you want to make people feel and who you want to be to your audience.
Hey, and shout out to Ray, who happens to be one of my tribe of Panthers from Leadership.
Awesome. Excellent.
He's a real cool dude. He's going to really... Hey, he already has a personality. I can't imagine what he's going to be like.
Awesome, awesome. So I got some questions here about Facebook, and Rebecca says, should we have a personal page, a community page, or a business page on Facebook? So I recommend having all of that. I think a lot of people for the longest time says just do all the work on your fan page, but I actually think you can get a lot of traction with your personal Facebook profile, and you're getting traction with people who you know and who are leaders. And a lot of times those are the people who could choose to work with you, and still having a fan page as well. But there are challenges with fan pages of getting them to be visible and getting a lot of people to see them. And groups also I have a huge amount of luck for. I've got private Facebook groups for every single one of my products, including this one. And the community that's in the group and the ability to kind of get to know each other is really huge. So I definitely recommend having all of that. And I saw like a ton of people writing ahas and breakthroughs. Did you guys catch any of those, or just out of curiosity?
I got one from Hiromi Mikawa, and she had said early in the presentation, it's personal rather than promotional. I thought that was just like such a tweet. Yes, yeah. I think that people don't want to be promoted to. You know what I mean? They want to be connected with. We all want to feel like we're connected with you and inspired by you, not just like this pounding over the head. Buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. I did make an offer on this presentation, and I see many of you have already signed up, and
are getting that offer, but it wasn't about like promoting. It was really about giving and building connection first. And just a quick reminder that there is a fast action bonus on this call. So if you sign up while we're live, I'll review one of your element of your personal brand, and I see that Daphne has just joined us and kind of grabbed that bonus as well. So next question is from Hiromi, who says, if people are only taking free advice on my expertise, does it mean I'm not professional enough or how I handle myself? So yes, I think if people only are taking free advice and they're not purchasing your services, then a couple things are going on. One is they don't see the value in what you do. It hasn't been positioned properly. Two, they don't believe that you're the person to help them with it. Three, they might not think that they can do it. Or four, there could be objections related to time or energy or money, which is really because they don't see the value behind it. So there could be something about the way that you're coming across that is not giving people confidence or not inspiring them to work with you, or to really think that, you know what, I can learn from this person, I can take advice from that person. So a lot about personal branding is to identify what your natural approach is, and then to become more of that, because that, I think, gives people a level of comfort that they're dealing with a real person. And there's a big mistake people make to become all about business, and it's like as soon as we get in front of the camera or we start giving our advice and expertise, we become a different professional version of ourselves that's all buttoned up and zipped up and closed down, and that's not always that compelling. So that's a really good question.
Another good question from Louis, is there an expiration of the personal evaluation you offer with the quick sign-up?
Yeah, I'll give you a year to cash that in. I'm probably
less than me.
What's that?
You're
well, actually,
generous. I would have said Christmas.
I take that. I think you're right. I take that back. I'm probably going to do them all at one time to make the most sense for me. So I'm not doing one every 2 months, or whatever it happens to be. So we'll send out an email. I don't know exactly when, and 2 or 3 months, and we'll tell you to, if you've got on the quick bonus, to send us an aspect of your brand, and then I'll sit down and I'll do them all at once to be able to really kind of get in the zone and go deep with you. So that's what I'll do. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
I have an aha here that I found from Bev Hannah. She said that she started a dog blog a while ago, but she stopped it because she thought it was too out there, and now she realizes it was perfect. Cool.
Yeah, it's funny because you're not always going to see like an instant response. You know what I mean? It can take time to build a following. If you're directly in contact with people, which is why I taught this webinar about Facebook. There's so many other aspects of personal branding I could teach, but Facebook allows you to get that almost instant response, especially if you're starting on your personal profile, to see what people respond to and what they really kind of engage with. And that just gives you that instant feedback that you're on the right track. But if you're kind of blogging, maybe you didn't have any traffic yet, or you didn't see a response because of that.
And Nanny's really trying to get her question in here, so we'll try to get this one in, Nanny. I am my personal brand on my personal and business Facebook page. Should I still have both? If so, how do I differentiate between the two?
I'm not exactly sure I understand. So she is her personal brand and she's her business brand, or I'm not exactly sure. Do you understand?
Well,
Or is she just talking about a fan page versus a personal profile? I can't quite tell.
I am my personal brand on my personal and business Facebook page. Should I still have both? So perhaps she's asking if she should still have both pages. 2
fan pages. Honestly, I'd have to know more about your business to give you an answer to that question. Some businesses, like I have a Live Your Message page, and I co-brand it Live Your Message with Marisa Murgatroyd on Facebook. That's the main one that I focus on. I did get just a Marisa Murgatroyd page. I'm not using it now, but there might be a time in my business where I'm doing more speaking and publishing more books where I decide to use it. But right now, the business one is doing fine, but I'm still very much a part of that business fan page. My personal brand is woven all throughout that. So I can't answer that without knowing, who you are, like knowing more about your business.
Marisa, I think she's asking if she should have a personal page and a fan page, if she should support both of those. I know a few people had asked that throughout the training today.
And by page, you mean fan page or personal profile?
A fan page, and then just like your friends page, where you have a 5,000 person limit.
Yeah, I definitely recommend you should do some work on your personal profile for sure. A lot of the posts coming from Matthew Peters and from Marshall Wayne were on their personal profiles. So you've got to have a personal profile on Facebook. So definitely recommend that. In terms of having 2 fan pages, one for yourself and one for your business, like I said, it depends on your goals for your business. But even if you've got a business fan page, if you are your business, then I recommend bringing more of yourself into that fan page. Does that make sense?
That's kind of what and Nanny, if you want to weigh in and make sure we've answered your question, we'll move on to Ray, who
Great. And first I wanted to welcome Carmen into the program. So welcome, Carmen. And, you know, just a reminder, you guys are all going to get your personal brand kind of reviews with from me. And I see that Gail says, just give us time to figure out who we are first. Don't worry, Gail, I will. I'll give you plenty of time to figure out who you are before doing the reviews. Okay, go ahead. What's the next question?
Ray's asking, is all that information on how to use Facebook in the program?
Yeah, I go a lot deeper in the program on how to use Facebook. So I actually go through about, you know, a lot of posts from different people. So I show you a lot more tactics than what I showed you here. So yes, that's all in the program.
And Nanny says, great, thanks. So we obviously got her question.
Okay, good.
Between Lori and I, we managed to get it across.
Woo! Excellent. All right, so I saw that there's still a lot of questions. Sorry, we're not as... Okay, so Ray says, if you don't have a website yet, can you start with Facebook? So yeah, absolutely. Facebook's a great way to start building a following before you've got a website because it's already people who you know. So yes, definitely. And I'd say the main thing to know about is to just make sure that you're being you.
I would encourage people to type their questions in again if they still have them right now, because the way the chat circles, we can't access the ones that were earlier in the training.
Okay. Okay, so Christopher says, is it true that there's nothing more valuable than someone who you trust as real? Sometimes it takes a lot of bumpy roads to trust yourself to be the real you, and then others will follow you. You know, it's really true, and one of the things that I've noticed is that the people who are super successful, you know, they're not afraid of being them. I mean, if you look at Brendan Burchard on stage, he's like a goofball, right? He gets all into it and goes kind of crazy. If you look at a lot of the people who have avid YouTube followings, it's because they're not afraid to be them. They're not afraid to kind of unleash themselves and be themselves. And the more you are, it's like people can laugh and feel like you are a real person. You're not just this talking head. You're not just a call center or something like that. And that's the kind of people that we want to do business with. And we're actually, there's research that shows that we moved out of an information society to what's called a dream society 20 or 30 years ago. So people are no longer buying products because they're products. They're buying the stories and the messages and the feeling underneath the product and what that product allows them to be in their own lives. And that's a really big thing because I think so many people are still trying to market their services or market their products. And going so much deeper really helps.
Rebecca is asking, do you recommend writing a book about your expertise? I've started and stopped writing my book so many times.
I think a book is really great. You know, a book is a really powerful personal branding tool because it sets you apart as an expert. But the question is whether the book is going to be the best thing for you to do now. You know, it depends on the stage of development that your business is in, because books are not necessarily money makers, they're more credibility builders. So based on whether you want to work on and focus on making money or building your following or building a book or doing a book, it depends. So, and a lot of times, you know, books can help you build a following, but sometimes if you want to go like the traditional publishing route, then it helps to have a following before you create a book. Right? If that makes sense. So otherwise you've got no one to buy it. And the truth is that the majority of books sell less than a few hundred copies. So that's just something I'm going to be releasing a book, but next year. And at this point, I can really have the power behind my personal brand to make that book a huge success. But I think if I had done it earlier, it could have worked in reverse. I'm just glad that I did it in the order that I did because I got the money now coming in and the clients coming in and the audience who are following me to support the book project, which is less of a moneymaker and more of a passion project. All right, so let's see what else is coming in. So Sharon wants to know, do we start a story on our personal Facebook page or ask our friends to go to our fan page or our business page? So I'd say you could start with your personal page. I think that's a really good place to start, sharing and being vulnerable, because you're going to have more responses there. And you can actually do it in both places, though. Actually, oftentimes we'll post the same content in both my personal page and my fan page. So a really good question. And let's see.
Bev has a technical question. She said, trying to purchase, and the form only has a field for American states. Can I leave that blank?
Okay, so yeah, if you're from another country, just put in any state, and it'll go through. Put in California, New York, wherever you've ever wanted to visit, and it'll go through. That's a little trick.
Is 90210 California.
Yes, that'll work just fine. A little bit of a trick with the Infusionsoft forms. So awesome,
Marisa,
Beth.
I think this is, I asked you this before, and I think you did cover it, but Anne has posted it again. I think she's trying, it's a buying question of whether she should purchase message to money or personal brand power. What's the difference?
Okay, sure. I did cover it, but I'll cover it again. So with message to money it's like a step-by-step business building course, for your entire business. Personal brand power is starting with you. So if you are a coach, an author, a speaker, a lot of times you are your business. So identifying kind of what makes you different and identifying who you want to be for the world and really getting a grasp on how you make people feel is super, super critical to building that audience and building that business. So I've had people jump into message to money and then take personal brand power and say, I wish I started with personal brand power because, I didn't know enough about myself to go into building a business. And now personal brand power has helped me really identify who I am. And that's given me so much clarity. So now I can take message to money and do the step-by-step business building. So I've seen it work both ways. But I'd say personal brand power is a really great place to start, especially if you are your business. And you want to understand, and you kind of are the face and voice of your brand, and want to step forward, kind of, and play that role in your business. Then I'd say personal brand power is really an amazing course to do that. So I see more questions here. I'm just trying to find them all. Sorry.
Well, how do we get the 5 bonus items? Will you be sending a link?
They're all on the membership site. So as soon as you sign up, you're going to get a link to the membership site, and the bonuses are all right there. So it's pretty easy. All right. Let's see. Next question from Valerie says, how does one remove the fear and step out of your comfort zone? And that's a really good question, Valerie. And I'd say that for me, the biggest way to remove fear is by taking action. And I get scared when I sit and think about something for a long time, or when I stay at home and try to make it all perfect first. And then once I just do it, it's like within 5 minutes of going live on whatever webinar or event, the fear is gone anyway, and I'm in the zone just doing what I love. So I think that action is the biggest antidote to fear. And then also I think identifying what the fear is really about. And a lot of times fear I find is left over from things in childhood, or ways that you were, like ways that I was criticized, or ways that, my parents shut me down, or ways that I compared myself to my brother or sisters or something else. And a lot of that is still there, and it's not serving me anymore. And so I realized that, oh my gosh, I still have fears from a long time ago. And so again, part of it's recognizing where the fear is coming from, identifying it, and doing it anyway. So, and everybody's got that same fear, so.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Rebecca has a question. I'm a web designer. Does my personal brand really mean that much?
It depends on what kind of web designer you are, too. I'm a web designer, and we just had over 100 people put down a deposit on our newest web design platform at the Online Business Superhero Summit, because I stepped forward as the face and voice of our brand, and I gave that website process a name and a face and kind of a personal feel to it. So that's worked for me. We've had like 100 websites come in at the same time just from me doing that. So I know that regardless of whatever service you offer, I think when it has a personal face and voice attached to it, it's just a lot more compelling. So it doesn't feel like this technical thing. Because otherwise what happens is websites become commodities. oh, I can get a website for $1,000 over here. Why would I pay $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 over there? What do you bring to that process that makes it different? So I would say yes. It's definitely helped me. And I did want to welcome Beverly to the program. So welcome, Beverly. All right. And I see, so I'm trying to go back through my comment chain to make sure I haven't left any behind, because I think there was a bunch of them. All right, let's see. All right, well, I see here Ray says, can you use the same Facebook strategy for LinkedIn? Definitely. You know, LinkedIn is a little bit shorter, but they've got groups and things on LinkedIn, so you can absolutely use that. And Bev says, in marketing and promotion, does the personal brand come first or the selling on Facebook, Facebook ads, etc.? Personal brand comes first. Most just overt sales pitches on social media don't work very well because people are in a social context. They're there and they're connected to you and following you because they're curious about your life. So I think if you lead with the promotion, it very rarely gets much results. I mean, you can do promotions on occasion, but I'd really build the personal brand and the relationships first. And by the way, do you guys have any questions? And it's interesting, this whole webinar, we've had double the amount of people watching on the Hangout than we have in the chat. So if you haven't, just so you know, you can log on to the chat. So we've consistently had twice as many people viewing it, which I've never seen before. So, which is awesome. Do either of you have any questions?
I think that a lot of the people have been asking questions or making the comments in the chat room that I've had. And I think that they're, you know, like Ray brought up a really good point. Same Facebook strategy for LinkedIn, Twitter, Google Plus. You know, I'm really getting that you can't be different people on those different platforms. It just might be done slightly differently based on the ability to do pictures or not do pictures, images, right? Like you might have to be a little bit more creative, I'm sure. But knowing you, Marisa, you'll cover all of that in the program.
Yeah, and that's the thing is a lot of people build their business in a really piecemeal fashion. We're like, oh, I got to have a website. Let me build a website. I've got to have a Facebook page. Let me build a Facebook page. I need to create a course. Let me create a course. And they've never done the work to figure out, well, what am I truly about? And how can I weave all of this stuff together so people stay in my world, you know? So people are choosing to work with me and they have that consistent feeling across everything I do. And I've got to say that I've got a lot of students who bought every single one of my programs, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's because they know what to expect from me. And we've got, I don't know, over 30,000 people on our email list. And they love what we do, and our blog posts get tons of comments and tons of likes and engagements because we've done this. You know, every email we send, it's personal, right? And that makes a massive difference. And I think that that's why we've been able to break out. And we're in a really competitive field, like business education is very competitive, but people love us, and they keep coming back for more and, you know, engaging with us like crazy. And I think it's because we've done this. And I've just noticed that this is a trend. And maybe it wasn't as big a while ago when there weren't so many people competing. You know, when all of this internet marketing stuff was new, you could just say, okay, I've got this strategy on Facebook. And all these people would come and learn because nobody else was talking about it. But now that competition has multiplied. And Gary, how many coaches are there out there?
Oh, God. Hundreds of thousands, a couple 100,000.
Right. So everybody's becoming a coach, right? All of a sudden, everybody's becoming a coach. And so now, with that many coaches to compete with, why are they choosing you versus everybody else? So this personal branding stuff, it's really, really relevant if you're in any kind of crowded space and you want to differentiate yourself and build those connections that not only does it result in more business for you, but you're able to transform people's lives on a greater level than just staying at this sort of surface level of business. And that's what I love about it. What?
I'm sorry, Don Green has a sort of a comment, sort of a question. He's just thinking about what you were talking about. So do we need the same image style in our email, signature, personal, and brand Facebook pages?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. So, and we're not just talking about the language, but a consistent visual style, a consistent set of fonts, a consistent set of colors. You know, you want to be consistent across the board. And the amazing thing that happens when you do that is that you're sending the signals that only the A players send. So it's like you all of a sudden are sending professional signals, and that really instantly changes the way that people respond to you and react to you. I had the woman earlier asking, well, if no one's paying for my advice, you know, it could be that you're not sending signals that are attracting people. You could be leaving them flat, neutral, or you could be repelling them. but you're probably not repelling them if they're actually asking for free advice. That just means that you're leaving them flat. And there's a difference between leaving them flat to really engaging them. And I did want to welcome Samia to the course. So welcome Samia to Personal Brand Power. And just a quick reminder, we are coming towards the end of the webinar. And if you do want to get that fast action bonus of the kind of personal brand review with me, then you want to sign up just in the next couple of minutes, because we are going to be bringing it to a close. I think many of the questions have been answered.
Marisa, I actually have a question it's very awkward. I am coming out of my comfort zone to ask you this, but I have you in front of me, so I'm going to take advantage. So I've gone through a lot of personal loss this year, and it's like negative. I don't want to be like negative Nelly all the time on my Facebook. So I'm not sure how much and how often to share my grief and stuff like that.
So here's the secret to that, and you know, there's a difference between sharing negative incidences and leaving them as negative, or and staying in a way of a victim mentality, and nobody really identifies with the victim, and sharing the takeaways of what you learned from that experience. So if you're able to take that experience and then reflect in ways that connect to your business, for example, and have taught you kind of lessons that you're now incorporating into your life, then it's totally relevant. If you're just having a miserable fucking day, I can't do this for another day, then at that point it ends up, I think, not supporting your personal brand. But if you're saying, wow, this has been the hardest, 3 months of my life, as I've lost this person and that person and that person, and what I've learned, through going through this time period is this. And what I can say is that I'm not the same person that I was 3 months ago. And so what you'll notice from me now is that I'm bringing this, and this into my business. And I invite you not to wait until you have to lose someone to learn this too. That all of a sudden is powerful, right?
Yes, thank you. That's great. Brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, complaining and whining and being a victim, no. But turning the hard knocks of your life into lessons that other people can get, and learn from is incredibly powerful. And I see a really, and it looks like Rebecca just joined the program, so welcome, Rebecca. Congratulations. And I see a question, and it's a really good one from Joanne here. And so Joanne says, how did you get over being what you describe as a shy person or less out there to being so clear and generous in claiming this personal brand? So part of it is clarity and part of it is practice. So, I did a lot of work, I did a lot of training, I did a lot of exploring, I did a lot of experimentation with my voice, and then I showed up over and over and over again. And the thing is I really believe that I've got something to share that can help a lot of people. And me being shy and sitting at home scared to do a webinar or hang out isn't of service. So while I do recommend being authentic and sharing of that, I think that there's also a private and a public version of each of us. And so the public version that you're seeing of me is dialed completely into my personal brand. It's sort of dialed in because I want to be inspirational to you. I want to be the best version of myself. And then there are things that happen in private where I could be having a miserable day, you know what I mean? And I could be feeling like really, really awful. I could be like, I have a big zit, and I could be sitting in my pajamas. I could be any number of things. But if I've got a webinar that day, I've done this enough that I can snap into the zone and be the public version of myself. It's still me. It's still all of me is this, I'm not faking it here because I'm so excited to share this stuff with you. And I know that for my message to be heard, only like 20% of it is what I'm actually saying, and the rest of the 80% is how I'm actually coming across. So if I came across and I didn't amplify and I didn't exude who I am, and if I kind of just left everybody flat, it'd be like, okay, thank you, goodbye, and people wouldn't really care, and I wouldn't change their lives, and I wouldn't be able to have the impact that I'm having now. So for me, I guess I'm a practical person. The way that I was able to get over my shyness is the recognition that it wasn't serving. And that doesn't mean you have to be loud or bold. There are plenty of people who are very kind of moderate, I guess, and level and even and grounded in their approach. And people resonate with that too. But it's just about, being that. Like one of my friends, Danny Eny, He very even-toned, right?
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he does really well. He kills it on webinars because people think he's just likable and relatable and generous.
He's
So
got
you
great
don't have-
information.
Yeah, with great information.
Yeah.
And he's able to deliver it very clearly and energetically, but very even tone. He's not going to be like me, jumping up and down and off the seat of my pants, but that's okay. So if you're shy, you know, or you're not that kind of person who is super outgoing and big personality, that's okay. And know that there are plenty of people who might be turned off by that, you know? And there are plenty of people who are going to be attracted to you because maybe you are quieter, because you are more even-keeled and grounded and level-toned. So that's attractive to a lot of people. But it's just about being that fully and then maybe adding a couple unique elements that are you. Like, for example, I hosted Danny on the Superhero Summit, and he came dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so for the shy guy, he still had so much fun, and he really embraced the theme, and he incorporated it through his entire presentation, and he did well. He did super well. So that's you know, a way that you can still let part of your personality fly as well. Oh, and I see Rebecca's joined the program. I don't know if I've remembered to say that. I'd like to shout out everybody for taking the big, bold move to step forward as the face and voice of your brand. And I know it's not comfortable. And I know it's like, oh my gosh, am I really going to do this? Do I have to show my face? I mean, a lot of people ask me, do I need to show my picture on my website? And I'm like, you know, yes, if you're a coach, if you're a speaker, it's going to be hard not to have your picture on your website, right? Because people are working with you individually. And so I see a lot of people who are hiding behind their expertise and hiding behind their business. And that hiding behind your business and your expertise, it doesn't really help anybody, right? And the kind of big secret is it's only scary until you do it, you know? And then what I realize is that, you know, it's not about me. I'm not sitting here talking about me all the time. I could, honestly, I don't really even care. It's really about how my stories and my experience and me being who I am can help other people be more who I am. And so for me, it's like it's a path. It's part of the process to, you know, being the change that I want to see in the world. Okay, are there more questions? Let me see. Okay. Just a quick reminder, I'm searching the chat, that it's just the last few minutes for your fast action bonus. We're already at 2:10. We've been on the line for over 2 hours. That's kind of amazing. So if you do want to get that personal brand review from me, make sure you do that in the next few minutes because we are about to shut the webinar. I've had so much fun, but I think the questions are running out. And I see Joanne has joined. So welcome, Joanne, to Personal Brand Power. So Karen has just asked a question that's similar to you, Lori, which is there a way you might positively communicate challenging times? So yes, I mean, I think that it's okay to recognize when you've been wrong, and I think it's actually a lot more powerful to say when you've been wrong or something's not going right than to always be like, okie dokie, you know, all is good, I'm fabulous, and that doesn't really, honestly, it's exhausting to maintain. But to say, you know what, this happened in my life, and it's a real downer, and I made a big mistake here. And but like I said with Lori, to never be a victim to your life, to never blame anybody else, to point fingers at somebody else for something going wrong, but to just say, you know what, I accept full responsibility for that, or I'm in the middle of it right now, and you know, I don't have the insight from coming out the other side yet because I'm not out the other side, but I did want to share this one thing that I experienced today in the hopes that it might help you because that are going through something similar. And I know that when I come out the other side, I'm going to be so much stronger for it. So what I recommended to Lori is to focus on the lessons that are learned and, you know, the kind of what people can take away. So it's not just like, wow, I'm miserable right now and there's no hope, because that's hard to identify with.
Right.
But it can be really easy to identify it with someone who's made a mistake. And I actually have to say that I've seen people who just go and they show their pictures of their cars and their boats and their mansions, and it's hard to identify with them, honestly, because it's like they're not human, or they've never made mistakes, or they've never had problems, or they've never overcome something in themselves. I honestly think that expertise isn't just book learning, it's life experience. And sharing some of that life experience gives a greater level of wisdom that book learning alone can't give you. And I find that people really resonate with that, you know? And there have been times where I've shared revelations and things with my audience, and it's just shifted the way that they see me. So, yeah.
There was one more from Bev. She wanted to know how far you can take humor in your posts about challenging times.
I think it depends on your tone. You know, you can do humor in a way that's not flippant or dismissive. But if the source of all humor comes from truth, that's why it's funny. We laugh because we see ourselves in it. So as long as you've got that sort of deeper truth in the humor, I think that it works. If it's just like vulgarity, for example, or if it's just kind of flippant and dismissive, or people don't feel like you care, then I think it could hurt you, you know, to make fun of. But I've seen people, Suzanne Evans has a phrase, she says, everybody's got kids and cancer. Because people making excuses to say, you know what, I can't do that, I've got 3 kids, I'm a single mother, or I can't do that, I've got early stage cancer. And she says that everyone has kids and cancer, and people can see that they're making excuses for their lack of action. And that is humor, right? And it is challenging, but it's humor in the service of a deeper level of transformation, to not make excuses regardless of what's going on in your life, to do the things that you really want to do now. So that's, I think, you know, it might not be your style. And if you've ever gotten offended, like I saw some people earlier in the chat, and I wish I could go back through all of it now to kind of address some of these things, saying something like, I've never wanted to be challenging, I've never wanted people not to like me, and things like that. And the thing about that is that as if you're not challenging anybody, most likely nobody's taking action, and you're not having change or transformation in your audience. So I've challenged you a few times in this presentation. You know, I've specifically challenged you because I know that it takes a lot to move someone into action, right? And it takes a lot. So you don't have to do it in that brash way of Suzanne Evans. You can do it in your style, in a way that feels authentic and real to you. But I think completely trying to avoid pleasing, by trying to only please people and avoid any kind of challenge or confrontation, you're probably not doing anything that's going to, you know, change the world, is my guess, or to really make a massive impact. And I do see that Judy and Makanani have joined Personal Brand Power. So congratulations, Judy and Makanani. And they're remembering what I said, that it is the last few minutes to get that fast action bonus of the personal brand review with me. So welcome, Judy and Makanani. Super excited to work with you, as well as Joanne, Rebecca, Samia, Beverly, Cameron, Daphne, Raymond, Mary Lou, Gail, Elizabeth, and Jean. So welcome to all of you for signing up for Personal Brand Power. I'm really excited because I think what it is, this is a different kind of course, in that it's not like, let me figure out how to do podcasting, you know? And it's important, it's a good thing to know how to do podcasting, but what happens when you turn on that microphone, right? It's you. So it's you, and people are either like, boring, or cry me a river, or they're like, wow, this woman is amazing, this man is amazing, I want to hear more about what they say. I want to not just listen to this one podcast that features somebody that I know, some expert that you invited on, but the next one and the next one and the next one. Even if you're doing an interview show, how do you become so magnetic and irresistible that people follow you and listen show after show after show? So I know when it comes to personal brand power, it is about making a choice to say, you know what, for my business to be as big and successful as I imagine it, then I've got to step out of the shadows. I have to stop hiding behind my business. I have to be willing to get out of my comfort zone and take the risk of revealing more of myself, of sharing my voice and sharing my stories, of like bringing it, like putting myself on the line, you know, delivering it through the energy and being willing to look stupid, you know, or whatever it happens to be. It's like, well, that's the worst thing that's going to go wrong, or looking stupid. It's not all that bad. And I think when that happens, there's a really big shift. And like I said, it's not selfish, it's not egotistical, it doesn't even become about you, but it becomes about the movement that you can build, the tribe you can build, the feelings you can invoke in other people that move them to action, that maybe they just needed that extra little nudge, that extra wind beneath their wings. And that's why I love this course so much, and I'm so excited for everybody who's signed up. And I think we've gotten to the end of the questions, have we?
Do we have contact with other people who signed up? Will there be opportunity to share with each other? From Carmen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Carmen, there's a private Facebook group just for personal brand power students, and this group is for you. It's for you guys to engage with each other, right? So the more active you are and the more supportive you are and the more you put on the Facebook group or also respond to people who post, the more dynamic that group is. So yes, there absolutely is a personal brand power Facebook group. And like I said, I haven't opened this course since last November, so it's been 6 or 7 months since I've opened this course. So we'll need to get in there with a fresh infusion of energy and really bring it to life and get people kind of engaged and involved. But yes, you've absolutely gotten a place to kind of share and comment and explore this personal branding stuff with other students who are going through it. And I also recommend that you reach out on that group and find an accountability partner, someone that you can kind of check in with once a week as you go through this program, and support each other and ask questions and kind of work through some of these exercises together. And that's something that I'll invite you to do just right on the Facebook group. Just, introduce yourself. And one mistake that people make, and this is really good exercise in personal branding, is they say, I'm looking for an accountability partner. You want to be mine? And like, no, I don't. You didn't tell me anything about yourself. But if you go there and just say, this is who I am, and this is what my area of expertise, and this is what I have to offer, and this is the kind of support I'm going to be, then you're going to get an accountability partner like that. And this is a real good lesson of how you even post on social media that we've been covering, is a lot of people post in a way that nobody responds to. It's like ghost town, right? But when you do this stuff that we're talking about now, I mean, that's where you start to see the real difference get made. That's where you start to see people just, engage and fall in love with you, and you get the testimonials rolling in, and it's an amazing feeling to know that you're making a big difference in people's lives. Okay.
Wow. Hiromi says, thank you for so much for hosting this amazing presentation. Lori and Gary, thank you for the amazing, inspiring presentation with full of passion and love, Marisa. It was also great to share the experiences with all of you here. 2 hours passed so quickly, which is so true.
Definitely. Well, awesome. I'm so glad that you came, Hiromi. I love, 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 love talking about this stuff. As you can see, I'm pretty lit up about it because I think it really makes a difference. I mean, we live in the most competitive age ever. Like, there's 644 million websites online. There are thousands of coaches. There are thousands of writers. There are thousands of speakers, if not tens or hundreds of thousands. And standing out today isn't the same as standing out before. It's not about like a trick. It's not about a Facebook trick like advertising, or it's not about, just start your podcast, or it's not about like a lot of the tactics that people focus on. It's about being somebody new that nobody's seen before, being yourself. And that's what separates you from everybody else. And that's really the only thing. If you want people to flock to your business and share your message, then you've got to have a personal brand that's meaningful. If you want to charge a premium for your knowledge and your time and your expertise, you've got to have a personal brand that's relevant. And if you want to become the #1 authority in your field, then you've got to have a personal brand that's memorable. So thank you so much for coming out. And I see it's 2:20 p.m. Pacific. I'll give you another till 2:30 Pacific to sign up, just in case you want to get that fast action bonus before we close it down. And we've got a lot of people who've joined, and I can't wait to work with you. Thank you so much, and thank you to Gary and to Lori and to Wendy for sending your audiences to me. I hope I took good care of them. I really appreciate it.
Amazing.
As always, thank you.
Sure. Go out there and live your message, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.